VIP. Let's kick it. Ice, ice, baby. Ice, ice, baby. All right, stop, collaborate, and listen.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, today in art class and digital media, Miss Bay and I are going to teach you the basics to making a stop motion movie. But first, there are 5 rules that you need to make sure that you know before beginning. The first one is you need to ask yourself, am I prepared and do I have absolutely everything I need in my set? Secondly, you must ask yourself, what do I need to stabilize my camera? Whether you're using your cell phone or you're actually using a camera, you still need to make sure that it is on a surface that is stable and you have a proper tripod setting.
So if you have a cell phone, we're going to have to make these. These are just regular tripods, and it will hold your cell phone. Make sure that you have this rubber band on here to stabilize it. You're also going to need a flat surface so that you can edit and work with your film and capture your images this way. You're going to need some kind of a surface to put everything on so that you have registration marks so that you know where your camera goes so that it doesn't move during your animation. If it does, it's going to be one terrible animation. So whether you have something for your cell phone or a tripod that you screw into your camera, either of those options are okay. So what you're going to need is a piece of 12 by 18 paper. You're going to want to make sure that you put it underneath your set and you put your camera and your tripod on top of it. Now, I need to make sure that I make these tiny little markings of where my paper actually fits onto my set. Don't worry about these markings. They're not going to show in your animation. You also want to make sure that you draw a line across your paper so that you know exactly where this paper is going to be every single day. You're also going to want to make sure that if you have your camera on here, you either draw points on where your tripod actually sits on your paper so that you can always put it back in the exact same location every day, or I'm going to draw a square around this book so that I know where my camera needs to go every single day.
And that brings us to our third rule. The third rule is to make sure your viewfinder can actually see the whole set. Listening to some of your conversations yesterday, some of you were talking about how you want to use the zoom feature. However, if you use the zoom feature, you're going to have a very jumpy movie. So you want to make sure that your camera's in the same spot and that you have the whole set in your view, or at least most of the set.
So what I ended up doing is I tried my phone this way, and I have a very narrow point of view. If I flip it this way, and I make sure that the screen actually rotates, then I can see a lot larger view in my animation here, in my set. What I had to do is try to prop my camera up on something, since down here all I see is about this level. That's where the camera on my phone is only at this level. So it only shows stuff here. So what I had to do is place it on top of something so that I can see at a different viewpoint. Now, since I moved everything, I've got to make sure everything lines up again exactly how we had it before. And then putting my camera on here, now turned off, so I'm going to have to turn it back on. And I can still see through this tripod here. It's just here for stability. It's not here for looks. So I'm going to replace everything back, and I can see from about here to about here in my animation. So that's a lot larger view than just this area here.
And that brings us to rule number 4, which is probably one of the biggest rules, and that is to make extremely small movements when taking your photos. Most of you are working in groups of about 4 people, and therefore you should work smart and not hard. One person should be the person taking pictures, while another one should be making those movements. And that leaves two other people. You also have a script that somebody needs to make sure everybody's following, and it doesn't hurt to have somebody watching over to make sure that everybody's making those small movements, that the camera's not moving, and there's actually a stable environment for your set.
Okay, so when you start this, you have to think about your characters and what they're doing. If you want something to enter your scene, you can't just place it in the middle of your animation. You have to have it enter slowly. Think about maybe stage production, enter scene left, enter scene right. You need to make sure that you do it very, very slowly. So I'm gonna line this up with where it begins to come into my animation. So right about here. I'm going to take a picture, and then I'm going to move it very slowly, or very small. I only moved it about maybe 1 or 2 millimeters. I'm going to take another picture. I'm going to move it again, just a tiny little bit. Take a picture. Now I'm holding onto my tripod because it seems to want to shake a little bit. And you can see the dog's nose actually enter the screen over here. Move it again. Oops. And I'm going to keep doing this until I'm satisfied with where it's going to go. Now you're going to need a lot of photos for this. What is it? You need to have at least 2 minutes worth of animation. That is, when we set this up on Movie Maker, it's going to be 0.15 of a second, which means that it's 800 photos total. So now I've only taken, what, about 10 maybe, tops? So you're going to have to work very quickly. That's why we need everybody in the group doing their job, telling you what needs to happen, having everybody be supervising and agreeing on what's going on.
Which brings us to rule number 5, patience and teamwork. Absolutely necessary to make a great project. You can get as much out of this project as you put into it.
When you're doing your animation, you're taking your photos, you don't want to have your hand in here. So my camera has a little bit of a delay on it. So if I take the photo, my hand was just in that shot. You don't want that to happen. Just like if you're taking an animation or if you're taking photos with another camera, you have to make sure that you push the button down all the way. Don't just push it down until it makes a noise. That's where it is zooming in or it's trying to focus. Some people tried to take about 1,000 photos. They realized they only had about 2 that came out because it was just focusing. So don't waste all that time. Make sure that you're actually pressing your shutter down all the way.
And that's all we have for you today, and we'll be in the classroom if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching.
Ice, ice, baby.